Hello, everybody. How you doing? I am Dr. Alicia with Coaching with Dr. Alicia. Today, I am very excited to talk about wellness and wealth. And we are going to talk about how we can be mentally stable and financially stable because they are related to each other. And I really think that with some of the work that I do with my clients, I've noticed that financial stress is always an issue in a relationship in terms of mental health and mental well-being. It's a topic that's like so important to so many people. And rarely do we ever tackle the issue head on. So today we're going to learn about what is financial stress. And we're also not just going to break down the issue, but we're going to talk to you guys about how you can just become more stable in terms of our relationship with money. And we're going to be giving you tips on how to manage stress related to your finances. And joining me in this discussion, I have Mr. Rahkim Sabree, and he is a financial therapist and he is an accredited financial counselor. Hello, welcome, Rahkim.
Hello.
And yes. And then also I have Dr. Lorie Nichols. I'm so excited that I got to see her again and meet her here. She's a psychologist and she's a financial education counselor, and she also teaches. So we got some good educators here to teach us about financial well-being. And I think let's just before we dive into the topic, I just want to say, hey, these are really great discussions for Mental Health Monday. And what I would like for all of you all to do so that you can receive text messages on when I go live, I'd like for you to text the word love, LOVE, to 87948, and you'll get messages on when we talk about these wonderful experiences. Yes, please hit the like button and please share these videos. Because everything you wanted to know about mental health on a Monday is what we're talking about. And so I'm so excited that we are going to be talking about financial stress. And let's dive right on into the topic. Let's talk about understanding financial stress. So let's start with you, Rahkim. How about what we know is that 72% of Americans report feeling very, very stressed about money. And it's one of the top 3 stressors in a person's life. So can you explain financial stress and how it really does impact our mental health?
Certainly. So a lot of the work that I do is with organizations, corporations who their employees are battling with just this, right? Sometimes that stress is tied into the day-to-day experiences that we navigate, right? Sometimes that stress is tied into previous financial traumas. So things that we may have observed or experienced in our childhood that still kind of has an echo in the way that we navigate our finances today. Financial stress will manifest in very similar ways to traditional stress, right? That can have physical manifestations like headaches, increased breathing, increased respiration, heart rate, body aches, inability to sleep. Maybe you are addressing that stress with coping by overeating or not eating enough. And so when we look at the way that stress shows up in our behavior or how we navigate the stress that we're experiencing financially, we have to kind of peel back the layers and determine what is the root, like what is causing this stress to occur. Many times the answer is living, right? We live in a very capitalist society, consumer driven. And so from the moment that we wake up until the morning that we go to sleep, we're being bombarded with messaging that tells us we need to buy, spend in order to be worthy, in order to be wanted, in order to be good. And so we have to kind of like separate ourselves from that messaging and recognize that that messaging is external. That's not a reflection of who we are or how we show up, and be intentional about what it is that we're consuming, whether that be from social media, which is a huge contributor to financial stress as people navigate comparisons, whether that be from people that we surround ourselves with, our friends, our family, our coworkers, whether that be the pressure that we're placing on ourselves based off of the money scripts that we subscribe to. Maybe we feel like more money means that we're going to have a better life, right? Or maybe we're scared of having more money. There are people who are extremely money avoidant that say, if I have more money, that means that I've done something wrong, or I have greater responsibility, or whatever, and they'll find ways to self-sabotage and end up giving that money away.
That is so destructive. You know what? You have hit upon so many different topics, and I just really love it. And one of the areas you hit upon that really struck to me was just our society, how they put so much emphasis, and it's just emphasis on how much money you make. And there's nothing wrong with making a lot of money. There's nothing wrong with that. Of course, that's your relationship and belief systems tied to money, but we can't be putting money on a pedestal to think that is how you're supposed to, like, the end all and be all. And it's so funny. I teach this and so I'll go to you, Lorie, in a second, but I teach, my students, I teach a class about diversity. And I love the week that we talk about Native Americans and we talk about how they view money. It is so different from this capitalistic society. Native Americans believe in you only work to make money so that you can have only what you need, and that value is placed on how much you give away. Where we live in this greedy culture where value is placed on how much you can consume, how much you can kind of take in, and what you have. And according to Native American culture, they don't believe in that. Like, if you have a whole lot and you're not sharing, and so there's something wrong with you. So I really think that that's such a contrast. This consumer-driven world that we live in, it's really world that we live in that places so much value on these, on how much money you have, and therefore we have these scripts. We either say, I'm gonna avoid it, where I don't want to have anything to do with it, and rich people are evil, or I'm just gonna want to hoard and consume and think that there's something wrong with that. And so, Lorie, I want to go to you. What is it did you like to comment on in terms of financial stress?
So I remember when I had just gotten my first one-bedroom condo ownership. I was so excited, and it took me years to jump into that. And so, of course, I started shopping to decorate my home. And I remember getting a note from the bank saying that they were going to increase my mortgage. And I thought, hey, as a renter, the rent always went up. So I put my $20 aside in preparation for the mortgage increase. And when that bill came, it was practically double my mortgage costs. And so I was not prepared to deal with the amount that my mortgage had doubled to. So I thought I had figured things out. So I took the money from my credit card bills to help pay my mortgage, which in fact led to me being delayed on some of my credit card payments. But hey, at least I kept the roof over my head. And when my credit card bills came in the following month, my interest rate had went from a 9% to 38%. And now I was dealing with credit card debt, mortgage payment, and how am I going to afford this? So talking about the things Rahkim talked about, stress, headaches, problems sleeping, not being able to eat, because I'm like, how am I going to do this? And it didn't help that when I watched TV, I saw families being evicted, because this was during the subprime mortgage crisis.
Mortgage, yeah.
And their belongings were thrown out on the street like trash. And all I could think about was, am I next? Am I next to lose my home that I had worked so hard for and had waited so long to get? And so that stress is real. And as a professional, it was hard for me because I was embarrassed. It was hard for me to say, I'm going to go talk to somebody, because I'm the person who's supposed to counsel and help other people out. And here I am in trouble. So when I work with families and individuals who are in debt, I always remember the experience I went through and what it was like. And it's not a pleasant feeling, but helping people to understand it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to experience what you're going through, but we need to alleviate some of that financial stress because it's not healthy. It's not healthy at all.
Yeah, I mean, this is people don't understand this whole subprime loan trend that happened in 2008. It was so devastating to so many people. And now we have a bunch of millennials who saw their parents lose their homes and suffer in the exact way that you beautifully illustrated that happened to you. And I appreciate you sharing your story, because there's so much shame attached to the fact that things didn't go the way you wanted it to go. And so I'm happy that you're embracing some of this and talking about it, because so many people can relate to it. But the thing is that we now have millennials and children who went through that, what Rahkim talked about, financial trauma, who went through that, watching they themselves lost their homes in foreclosure because their mortgage payment just doubled like that, and everybody was making money ushering out these deals. And I mean, just to talk about that and to have that story really helps normalize it. And so I want to welcome everybody here today. Y'all in the chat, how many people have had you don't have to share it in the chat, but how many people have had an embarrassing story where things did not turn out for you the way you're supposed to? We're supposed to trust these systems to make sure that everything, the checks and balances were there. And here is people going through foreclosure and sometimes bankruptcy. And we have an entire generation of millennials who are scared to buy a house. They're scared, sometimes still living with their parents, because they're scared to go out on their own because they went through some of these things themselves with their own parents. Yes, Tara says, yes. Thank you for sharing. So Rahkim, what do you have to say about these unique stories of shame and stress that comes with having to file bankruptcy and having a lot of debt in being in relationships with someone and having to disclose all of this to a significant other? What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, so I think shame has been historically built into the way that we talk about money from an educator's perspective. And so what I'm starting to see as a shift in financial education is that there is a trauma-informed lens that it is being broadcasted through. And this is kind of a newer, I think, way of delivery, but we see some of the old school styles of financial education that says you're dumb, you're stupid, you're, whatever. And not acknowledging what you talked about is those systems that are operating exactly the way that they were designed to work. And so people are experiencing these like crises of identity and crises of consciousness when they're trying to aspire for these goals or these narratives or these scripts, right? We talk about money scripts that are often articulated in books that are written by people who don't look like us, whose experiences don't align with our experiences. And then when we kind of miss the mark, we start beating ourselves up. So a big part of the work that I do in either speaking or working with individuals one-on-one is to address that shame and that guilt out the gate, right? We have to take that out of the equation. And so sometimes, many times, and I think Lorie could speak to this as well, the misalignment of an individual's goals and their value will contribute to where that confusion is, right? And so there's the shame, there's the guilt, because we are setting goals that are consistent with what someone else says we should be doing, and not necessarily aligned with what we truly desire internally, or that are not aligned to what it is that we truly value internally. Once we can get to a place where we can align those goals with those values, and I'll give you an example, we can eliminate the shame and move forward. So I do pro bono financial counseling at my local library. Worked with a client recently who recognized that she's approaching retirement age and she doesn't have any money put away for retirement. As we're having the conversation, she starts using that language, that beating herself up, talking about how, you know, she was foolish, she she should have done better, et cetera, et cetera. And she would like to retire within 10 years or so. And so when I talked to her about pulling back the layers of that onion of shame, right, that onion of guilt, I asked her, what was the reason why you didn't contribute to your retirement when you were younger? And what was revealed in that conversation was that she was trying to survive. She didn't have the money to put away towards retirement. She was a single mother. She was trying to provide for herself and for her child. And so when we looked at how she was spending the money, she was spending the money on necessities, and then she was spending the other half of the money on coping with the fact that she was in a situation that was less than desirable.
Oh.
And so we have to draw a line in the sand, right, between what has been done already, acknowledge, and I'm not taking away the accountability that has to be had and what moving forward. We can't do anything about what happened. Let's reimagine how you define retirement. What does that look like for you? Her response to you is she really didn't. She thought retirement looked like traveling, right? Okay, what's stopping you from traveling? She's like, I guess I am. That's a powerful realization, isn't it? Right? You are getting in the way of living your retired life. You can continue to do the things that you're doing. You can continue, because she knew all of the steps, right? She knew how to pay down the debt. She was talking to me about different financial products and services and the snowball and avalanche, that elimination method. She needed to move past this guilt and shame that she's navigating in order to position herself forward. And so I think I like to use that as an example when I'm talking about pulling the guilt and the shame out of the equation, because a lot of times people know what they should be doing, but they feel like so burdened with choices they've made in the past, either out of necessity or just maybe not knowing any better, that they live in that shame, and they won't execute on the things that they know that they should be doing because they don't feel worthy of it.
That is so great. When you move people out of shame and put them in a place where you talked about they connect to their values, then they see it totally different. And what you did with that lady was, first of all, you didn't panic. I love when I work with people and I'm like, oh no, I messed this up. And they're like, no, don't panic. We can now fix it. The beauty of it. And I love studying what ultra rich people do. I was talking about this earlier. I'm just like excited about studying how really, really ultra rich people operate. And they have an internal locus of control. They believe that, okay, I made this mistake that put me in this financial situation, but you know what? I'm in control of what's going on. I'm not going to sit here and blame everybody. Yes, this happened to me, but you know what? I'm going to turn lemons into lemonade. And that is the demarcation between people who have a healthy relationship with money and people don't. You feel as if there's shame and there's guilt with all these mistakes. But really, when I talk to rich people, I do spend some time talking to really rich people. They are so positive. They're just like, you know what? I did this thing and I lost this money, but that's okay. I can get it back this way. Like they really do feel like, okay, that was terrible. The experience was really something, but you know what? I'm back on track. I'm able to get things back going, and here's some things I can do. So not only coupled with the financial literacy, which I know rich people know where to put their money, how to put their money, how to protect their money. They're savvy. But in addition to that savviness, they also connected to their values, which is what I'm hearing you say, Rahkim. It's like, wow, they're connecting it to things that they value the most, and that motivates them to get excited, and they share that excitement with their family, and then therefore everybody's investing and changing their outlook and really getting on top of it. It's so funny how like the answers are right there. Why don't we just leap? And instead of looking at finances and being stressed out about it, it's changing your perspective and saying, you know, where's an opportunity? Things are down now, but that doesn't mean it'll always be down. Oh my gosh, Dr. Lorie, what do you have to say about this whole thing with stress and how we look at money?
Right. So what I wanted to add on is it's those beliefs. We were touching base about it a few minutes ago. But when you're young, I remember for me, I'd want something and it was like, no, we can't afford it. I would always hear that. No, we can't afford it. And I just couldn't wait till I turned 14 years old. I could get my working papers and I could start working and start buying the things I want. But little did I know that my parents' reasoning for saying, no, we can't afford it, because they were valuing saving up the money so that they could put my brother and I through college. So I wanted to be cool like my classmates in junior high school and wear all the latest clothes and the name brand clothing, because they looked at me and said, oh, you don't fit in with us. And so I was trying to be cool where my parents were trying to make sure that there was a future lined up for me. So those things we hear as a child, money doesn't grow on trees, we can't afford it. It sits with us. And sometimes it stays with us as an adult when we get into adulthood. And depending on what we do with those thoughts, we can either continue it and then we tell our own children, no, we can't afford it. Money doesn't grow on trees. Money is evil.
Wow.
Or we can break those mindset thoughts. And like you said, live with values of money is a vehicle that we can use to choose to do different things, where we want to go to school, where we want to live, how we want to live. And so I just wanted to add that piece in, because it really goes back to where our thoughts are in terms of what we learn from as a child and up through the years.
Yeah, I mean, I really think social media does like a really good job of like getting people to show young people with all this flash and doing all these things with money that's so like living like their best life because they have all this money. And it's funny because when I talk to young people, they want to make $1 million so that they can spend $1 million. And I'm like, wait, you need to be making $1 million so that you can invest $1 million, because you have to be able. That's how people grow their money. That's what ultra rich people do. They grow their money by investing it, not by spending it. If you've spent your money, then you don't have it anymore. I mean, we need to like change the way we think about it. It's okay to have some fun, but don't go overboard. Like really think about investing, making sure your money gets filtered through this investment system is where we need to be savvy about how we look at money. Money should be our income, and the money that we invest really should be looked at as that way and not something that we can just go out and spend, because that's the best way to get rid of money. And I think that people, when you're in this mindset of I can't afford it, it's what they call like this deficit mindset. It's like, I can't afford that, so I'm going to get into this mindset where I'm thinking negativity. So how do you, I know Rahkim, you talked about how beautifully you changed this woman's perspective about money and said, okay, you can do some of the things that you need to do with money, but here are some things that you need to change in terms of your investment. How do you guys get past this block? There's like a financial block. We're like, what you should be doing, but I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling upset, or somebody got on my nerves, or I'm stressed out, and I'm going to do some retail therapy. I'm going to go somewhere and I'm going to spend some money, because retail therapy actually works. Nothing brightens your day to have something shiny, new, and wonderful. What do you all do? Because once people become aware of what they need to do, how do you when you work with clients, how do you make them build the connection between you need to stop doing these terrible habits, retail therapy and all these things, because it's taken away from how you need to invest? What do you guys do with that? Rahkim, you can go first, and then you, Dr. Lorie.
Sure. So I think first off, I don't tell my clients what to do.
Okay.
Because if we think about it from a psychological perspective, right? when you tell somebody that they can't do something or that they shouldn't do something, or if you are imposing your authority over them, right? Because they're coming to you, and I use that word authority intentionally because I used to work in the banking industry, and that was what I was taught. So as a banker who is selling a product, the leadership that I had said, you are the expert, you are the authority. When they come in, they're looking for you to tell them that they need XYZ product. What I had to learn when I started working with people on my own is that no, they are the expert on their lives, on their circumstances. My job is not to tell them what they need to be doing. My job is to show them what they can do and then allow for them to rise to the realization that this is the best thing for them. I think when we take out language that dictates how somebody should move, particularly with something as intimate as their finances, we also eliminate some of the shame, right? Because imagine as a financial therapist, financial counselor, financial advisor, whatever, that you tell your client to do something and they don't do it, or they do the opposite. Now, when they come back to you, if they come back to you, they're wrestling with the guilt and the shame of the fact that they made a choice that was in direct opposition to what it is that you instructed them to do. So rather than continue to press on the resistance, the natural resistance that they are probably going to have to being told that they can't do something, you think about a lot of times why people can't stick to a budget, because they're viewing a budget as being something restrictive that tells them what they can't have, what they can't do. By working with them as a partner and say, hey, this is something that you shared with me is important to you. Why is this important to you? Right? Once we can understand what their value system is and how that value system ties into the goals that they're setting for themselves. So that can look like budgeting, that can look like saving for retirement, saving for their child's education, saving for the house. When they have to face themselves, there's no shame there coming from me anyway. There is, you said that this is what you want to do. I'm just reminding you of the fact that you set this goal for yourself. Maybe this goal that you told me you wanted to accomplish is not necessarily a goal that you want to accomplish, but a goal that you heard somebody else tell you you should be working on. And so we talk about social media, or we talk about the books that are out there or the conferences that we attend. A lot of the language is, I'm the expert and you need to do what I said in order to get to this place. But personal finance is very personal. And so the instances and occurrences that will happen in between the last time I connect with this individual and the next time that I connect with this individual could greatly derail what it is that they were intending to do. Maybe they got a flat tire. Maybe they needed to replace their furnace. Maybe, their pet needed some kind of medication. So this derailed what it is that we thought was the prescribed path, and they had to adjust to that. People are making adjustments every single day.
Yeah, I love this thing about adjustments. And what you do with people is that you help them see the consequences. Like, if you go this route, here's what you would probably see. If you want to go this route, here's what you probably would see. And then you empower them to make their own decisions. And then they got to sit with those consequences. It's almost like, instead of me telling you what to do, no, I'm gonna let you be responsible for your own behavior. My job is just to give you an illustration of all the different roads, and you can go down any single road that you want. Exactly. That is really good. I want to quickly, before we go to Lorie's response, just welcome everybody. This is Mental Health Monday. We're talking about mental health, wellness, and your financial stress, financial wealth. And today I have two financial experts here in here to talk about this. Rahkim Sabree, he is a financial therapist, and he's an accredited financial counselor. And I also have another counselor here, Dr. Lorie Nichols. She is a psychologist. She's also a financial counselor. And Dr. Nichols, I want you to talk about, what do you do if you're working with someone and they say they want to do something, but you're seeing that their behaviors are not getting them there. They're overspending, all of these things. How are you able to help your clients see the connection between the two?
So I had a family, and they were in severe amount of debt. And so what we did the B word, the budget, sat down, had them list out all their incoming money and all of their outgoing money, the expenses. And once we created that list, they saw how much of a deficit they were in, which was a significant amount. And then I had them look at those variable expenses, those things that are flexible, like the groceries, because it's not consistent every month. And I sent them on a homework assignment, similar to what Rahkim is saying. They have to figure certain things out for themselves, because if they figure it out for themselves, they'll be more on board with what they have to do. So their assignment was to look at their expenses and figure out where they could cut expenses from, where they could cut down. When they came back to me, we saw they ate out every week. The mother and daughter went to get their hair and nails done a lot during the month. And those were things that they were doing. They went on activities, of course, because you have to entertain the children. They went on activities. And so those were things, even though they knew they needed to cut down in those areas, they just didn't do it. But yet they were in a severe amount of debt, continuing to do the same things over and over again. So once we cut out those expenses and they realized that that money could go toward the debt, they were so excited. They were high-fiving each other. They were hugging each other, kissing each other, like, we're going to be good. We're going to be good. And then they came into me the following week and they said, we're not doing too good. What happened? We thought we could live the way we had, but what happened was they had stripped all the fun of the things they were doing, the retail therapy, even going to the dollar store. They loved going to the dollar store during the week. And those were expenses that were not counted. Because imagine, and I'm sure the audience has done this before, you leave your house, say with $20, and you come home and you're like, where did that $20 go? What did I spend it on? You have nothing to show for it. So once we look back at the things they enjoyed doing, they figured out what they could do in place. So instead of going out every single week to dinner, once a month, and in place, they did some cooking at home. They did like family night cooking, and they even made it fun with challenges, the mother and daughter against the father and son, or the daughter and son against the parents, in terms of cooking up meals and making it fun time. And then the mother and daughter, they created spa day at home. So instead of spending money to get your manicure and pedicure, they did it at home and they had fun doing each other's nails. So replacing those pieces that they enjoyed so much with less expensive ways to still have fun, so that they didn't feel that the budget was so restrictive. But they have to figure out the things that can replace those things. Otherwise, you'll feel like, I hate saving, I hate budgeting, because
life is so boring. Life is boring. They'd be like, Dr. Lorie took all my fun away by showing me I can't have no fun no more. But what you did was,
but they were saying they came up good. They got rid of their debt and they were the same money.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah, so like, that's so wonderful. So you encourage them to be creative. You encourage them to think outside the box. I mean, just to be able to have a spa day in the house, that don't cost nothing, really. You got stuff, or I got enough candles and incense around my house where I can make my own with money I've already spent. I can make my own spa day. I think that's great. I think as a family, cultivating as a family, ways for them to be creative and making it competitive, saving. How about this with our families? Let's make saving money competitive. Let's see if we can outsave each other and find out what it is. I mean, even for you, when you got that job at 14, you probably got that job so you can spend your money, but you need to get a job so that you can save your money. Let's see how much we can save and make that fun and competitive. I was just thinking about, for me, like, Dr. Boyce and myself, we taught this course about the Love and Money Lab. And I gave this exercise to everybody, and they emailed me the results of the exercise. I had them for 1 week. I told them, write a diary of everything you spent money on. So just like write it down. I mean, things you actually spent money on, not like automatic payments or anything, but things you went to the store and spent money on, or things you bought on Amazon. And I said, write it down. And I said, right next to it, how you felt when you spent that item. And I was throwing it out there. And I said, do your emotions and item that you spent. And I said, send your journals to me and I will review them. It's amazing what pops up. It was like, I want to please this person. There's somebody that I want to impress. These were the feelings that were coming up. I felt sad. I felt lonely. I felt tired. I felt like I want to make this person like me. I want to buy love. Like all of these things were coming up around why people felt like they had to spend their money in these ways. And there was one person in particular who never spent money on themselves, only spent money on this other person. And I said, what's going on in this relationship that this other person is just taking and taking from you? Like it really, so much came up with this money diary. And I was just hoping that people can, just like you had them do with this numbers don't lie, you have them to look at this budget and they had to consciously think about, oh crap, I don't even think anything. I just take my credit card out, beep, 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 beep. You're like, that credit card bill come later, but you underestimate how much you've spent. So opening up your credit cards, really looking at things, oh my God, that really makes a difference. So I talked a lot there, but let me reset a little bit. Welcome everybody. We are talking about wellness and wealth. We're talking about all the things that we do with money and how it stresses us out. We've already talked about what it does to your body and what it feels like. We've already talked about some painful memories that could be very traumatic and what that has to do with your ability to develop a healthy relationship with money. And a lot of us don't have it, and we use money in so many different ways that doesn't work for us. But there are ways. You got to think like rich people think. We have control over your financial situation. Yes, we can't control the fact that inflation has an effect on us. We can't control the fact that gas prices and milk and eggs at one point was all expensive. These are things we can't control. But one thing you can control is your perspective, how you look at money. Even when the inflation is high, there's still people making money out there. So you need to have the mentality that you can be right with those people, and not just for greed, because we talked about greed, but not to show everybody how much money you have, but to do some really smart and intelligent things that are really close to your values. So as we come to the top of the hour, I'd like to just take a second for Rahkim. You let everybody, Rahkim, I know it's Rahkim Sabree, I'm saying it correctly. Give everybody some tips, concluding tips on things that they can do to improve their relationship with money and make things better. And then let everybody know where they can find you.
Sure. So I think one of my favorite recommendations when it comes to regulating your nervous system really around money is mindfulness activities. And so you both have illustrated what that looks like. Maybe that's conscious or intentional journaling of where am I spending my money? How am I feeling when I'm spending my money? Why am I spending my money? Because a lot of the decisions, and when I say a lot, I mean 85 to 90% of our decisions around money are tied into our emotions. They're not rational decisions. And so if we can understand what is driving that emotional response through mindfulness activities, through affirmations, through the reciting of mantras, we can take more intentional steps to control where that money is going. What is the need that we're trying to fulfill by spending money, whether that be money spent on ourselves, money spent on somebody else, money that is taken from us. Excuse me. And so I think that's excuse me. That's the first one I would really the biggest one that I would recommend. Um, Mindful reflections or mindfulness activities around what is driving how we use money. Because a lot of the examples that we typically give when it comes to having these conversations about money are usually from a position of playing offense, or I need to have money to avoid whatever. And so we notice when we look at the budgeting, when we look at the spending, some of the overspending, right? We notice when somebody's not saving. We notice when somebody's eating out every weekend. We notice when somebody's spending money on gifts. What I don't think gets the appropriate or equal amount of attention is when people are doing exactly what they are supposed to be doing, right? And so there is such thing as hoarding money. There is such thing as oversaving, as overinvesting. And some of the stimuli that we are navigating when it comes to the hoarding of money, keeping it inside of our bank account, or keeping it under a mattress or in a dresser drawer, is coming from a place of scarcity, right? It's coming from a place of, or maybe vigilance. I need
Mm.
to protect this because I didn't have, and so I want to make sure I don't end up in that situation again. Or I need to protect this because I don't want somebody to take away from me. And so on paper, they're doing all the right things, saving 50% of their income, they're investing, they're whatever, they're not spending money, but to the detriment of your lived experiences, right? We do have to acknowledge that money is a tool. And so the tool's no good just hanging up on a shelf or sitting in the toolbox, right? When it's appropriate for us to use these tools, we have to pull them out and use them. If you need to nail, or rather hammer a nail into the wall, you're not going to keep the hammer in the toolbox and say, "Well, I have the hammer for the sake of having the hammer, but I'm going to try and nail this nail into the wall with my hand." And so a lot of times we'll see that reflected in people's finances when they're demonstrating vigilance. They'll have the tools, but they are afraid to use them, or they're reluctant to use them
Yeah.
because of some reaction to the stimuli that we're talking about. So um, just boiling that down, mindful or intentional practices when it comes to understanding how we're using money, whether that be on the spending side of the equation or the saving and investing side of the equation.
Very good. Thank you. Yeah, being mindful and having those mantras are so important. I love that one mantra, money flows to me easily. Money flows to me. I'm like, whoa, okay, I already stop and say that. Excellent, Sabree. Okay, so how about you, Dr. Lorie Nichols? Let everybody
Okay.
know.
So ditto to everything Rahkim said.
Yes.
And I would also add on, because money is such a serious and a hard topic to talk about, add some fun to it. Set some money goals. What would you like to accomplish within the next 3 months in terms of your finances? Would you like to save money? And if so, what? How much would you like to save? And think of that number. What are you saving for? Have a goal in mind in terms of what you're saving for. Are you saving to go on a vacation? Are you saving to be able to go out with your friends and family? So along with making sure that your expenses are covered, put in some fun money for yourself. So make it fun and have some goals and figure out how much you have to save either every day or every week to get there. I know Dr. Boyce Watkins, he has that $5, saving $5. So that just goes to show you, you don't have to save an extraordinary amount of money. You can start with a little bit. And depending on the goal that you set, just start working and saving toward that goal. If it's a vacation or if it's for something fun to do with your family, start working toward that goal and figure out how much you need to save each day or each week or each month to move toward that goal, so that when you reach that goal, you've met it, you celebrate achieving that goal, and then you go to set the next one. So make saving money fun, but at the same time, make sure your expenses are being met. You don't want to
Oh,
go into retail therapy and then, we have some bills hanging out.
that's
So,
right. And I try to live beneath my means. That's one thing I do. I try not to I try to see, how much money I have and how I want to live, and then I go a little bit below that. And I try to tell myself it's okay. Like a car gets me from point A to point B. Like, what do I need? Why do I need to show that I have a certain type of car, a brand new car? Like, I'm comfortable. I tell myself I'm comfortable with what I have. This sweater is old. This is an old sweater, but it keeps me warm, and I'm grateful. So I try to show some gratefulness for what I do have, appreciate what I have, and stop looking for more things. I mean, we really do need to shift our mindset. And I honor people based on their brain. Like, how smart are you? Are you a good person? Are you compassionate? Those are the people that I respect. People who have a lot of money and are really flashy and stuff, those aren't normally, it's like, okay, what's really going on inside? Beauty is not on the outside to me. I think the only type of beauty that ever matters is really what's going on the inside. And Dr. Boyce, he's like, oh, I think you're so beautiful, boy, Alicia. And I'm like, I hope you're talking about my inside. I don't want you to comment at all about my outside, because I was not born looking how I look. But the thing is that it's just standards of beauty that, all of us have beauty in us. And some people adhere to standards of beauty set by someone else more so than someone else. And I look at money the same way, and if people have this money, your relationship with money, I'm not going to put it on a pedestal. I want to see who you are as a person. And, real relationships don't have to cost a thing. What did J-Lo say? Love don't cost a thing. You don't have to cost anything. But anyway, when I won't hold you guys up, I've been wanting to get the two of you on here to talk about this for such a long time. Rahkim, oh my goodness, we finally did it. We finally did a video together. But y'all, go find them on Instagram. If you type their name in, you can follow them. We got LinkedIn and everything. And of course, you know how to follow me, Coaching with Dr. Alicia. There you go. You can go to my website if you want to reach out to me. Of course, follow me on the Instagram, on the gram at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. And of course, one last thing I have to say, please, please, please type the word love, LOVE, to 87948. And be sure to do that so that you can get notified on when we go live. And thank you, everyone. Goodbye, everybody in the chat. I see y'all in there. I see y'all in the chat. Stevie, Tina, Rhonda. I can count on Miss Rhonda to come in and give us lots of love. But be sure to like and share. And goodbye, everybody. Peace. Peace out.